It's a wonderful evening and welcome to today's lecture. I'm your course instructor, Apostle Dr. Revival John Ringjot, taking you today again in Believers and Politics Pol 103. Today we shall be looking at the ethical and moral dilemmas for believers called into politics, the ethical and moral dilemma. When we say something is ethical, we are talking about the way that such things ought to be done. And when we say something is moral, we are talking about the normal way of life, which is approved of the society. Now, believers entering into politics often face ethical and moral dilemmas that challenge their faith and their values. Questions about balancing the needs of special interest groups making ethical decisions in morally complex environment and maintaining accountability and transparency are common. And this lecture helps to address these concerns, providing strategies and scriptural insight to help believers navigate these dilemmas which they may be facing every day. Now, in politics, one of the moral way or the ethical way of politics is lobbying. But you know that lobbying could be done fraudulently, and that is where the ethical and moral dilemmas arise. So let's look at lobbying and special interests, where you need to lobby and then it clashes with special interests. Balancing the need of special interest group with the broader public interest is a significant challenge for believers in politics. Now, this has to do with a clash of interests. Special interest groups often have specific agendas and resources to influence political decisions. However, believers must prioritize the common good and ensure that their decision benefits the broader community and not just a special interest group. Like Proverbs 11 verse 1 states that the Lord detests dishonest scale, but accurate way find favor in him or with him. This verse emphasizes the importance of fairness and integrity in decision making. Believers should strive to make decisions that are just and equitable, avoiding favoritism and undue influence from special interest groups. To balance these interests, believers can 1. Establish clear ethical guidelines for accepting contributions and support from special interest group. If you understand that your interest and that of the group does not really relate, definitely, and you collect their support, you will be in a tight corner when they come up with their interests. Now, prioritizing policies that benefit the broader community and promoting justice and equity is another thing that the believers ought to do, which will help them overcome this. And the last one is engaging in open dialogue with the special interest group to understand their perspective while maintaining a commitment to the common good of the society. Another thing is ethical decision making. Making ethical decisions in political environment where moral compromises are often necessary can be challenging. Now, believers must navigate complex situations while staying true to their values and principles, as we have seen in James chapter 5 verse 1, which advises, if any of you lack wisdom, you should ask the God who gives generously to all without finding fault, and it will be given to you. Seeking God's wisdom through prayer and reflection is essential for making ethical decisions. Believers should also consult Scripture and seek counsel from trusted mentors to guide their decision making. Now, to make ethical decisions, believers can 1. Regularly engage in prayer and Scripture today to seek God's guidance. 2. Establish a personal code of ethics based on biblical principles and adhere to it unwaveringly. And number 3, seek accountability from trusted advisors and mentors to ensure that their decisions align with their values. Now, the third point is accountability and transparency. Maintaining accountability and transparency in a system often characterized by corruption, secrecy is crucial for believers in politics. Transparency builds trust with constituents and ensure that political actions are conducted with integrity. In 1 Corinthians chapter 4, verse 2, highlights the importance of faithfulness and accountability. Now it is required that those who have been given a trust must prove faithful. Believers must strive to be transparent and accountable in their political roles to maintain public trust. And to maintain accountability and transparency, believers can 1. Regularly report to constituents and engage open dialogue with the public. Number 2, be honest and transparent about their actions and decisions and motive. Number 3, implement mechanisms for accountability such as regular audits and overweight committee. In the conclusion, believers in politics face significant ethical and moral dilemmas, but with God guidance and right strategies, they can navigate these challenges with integrity by balancing the needs of special interest groups with broader public interests, making ethical decisions based on biblical principles and maintaining accountability and transparency. Believers can uphold their faith and values in political arena. With God's support, believers can engage in politics in a way that honors their faith and contributes to the betterment of the society. The next thing I want us to look at in this lecture is the historical success in Christian politics. The historical success. Believers often look to historical and contemporary examples of successful Christian politicians for inspiration and guidance. And these case studies provide valuable insight into how faith can be integrated into political life and the impact that Christians' values can have on governance. In this lecture also we are examining notable example of Christian politicians and highlighting their successes and the lesson learned from their experiences. Now let's look at case studies. The first person I want us to look at is William Wilberforce. William Wilberforce reigned in 1759 AD to 1833 AD. He was a British politician and a leader of the movement to abolish the slave trade. His deep Christian faith motivated his tireless efforts to end slavery in the British Empire. Wilberforce's commitment to the justice and equality led to the passage of the Slave Trade Act of 1807 and the Slavery Abolition Act of 1833. His work exemplifies how Christian values can drive sufficient or significant social change. Wilberforce's landscape was one of intense political and social resistance. The economic interest tied to the slave trade were substantial, and many powerful figures opposed the abolition. Despite this, Wilberforce's faith and perseverance enabled him to rally support and navigate the political landscape effectively. His success demonstrates the power of faith-driven advocacy and importance of persistence in the face of opposition. And lesson to learn from Wilberforce's success is that the power of faith. Wilberforce's unwavering faith was a cornerstone for his effort. His example shown that faith can provide strength and motivation needed to pursue justice and equality. Number two is commitment to justice. Wilberforce's dedication to abolishing the slave trade highlights the importance of advocating for the marginalized and oppressed. Believers can learn from his commitment to justice and strive to promote policies that reflect biblical principles of fairness and equality. In moral integrity, Wilberforce maintained his moral integrity through his political career, demonstrating that it is possible to navigate the political landscape without compromising one's value. The second person I want us to look at, aside William Wilberforce, is Martin Luther King Jr. Martin Luther King Jr. reigned in 1929 century BC to 1968 BC and was an American Baptist minister and a civil rights leader. He played a pivotal role in the American civil rights movement, advocating for non-violent resistance to racial segregation. King's leadership and commitment to justice were deeply rooted in Christian faith. His effort to lead to significant advancement in civil rights, including the Civil Rights Act of 1964 and the Voting Rights Act of 1965. King's landscape was marked by systematic racism and violent opposition. Despite this challenge, his faith, commitment, and nonviolence inspired a movement that brought about profound social change. His success illustrates the power of faith-based activism and importance of maintaining moral integrity in the face of adversity. Now, the lesson to learn from Martin Luther King Jr. is that faith is the power of faith. King's faith was central to his leadership in the civil rights movement. His examples shows that faith can inspire, sustain efforts of social justice and commitment of police. King's dedicated to non-violent resistance and his advocacy for civil rights highlight the importance of pursuing justice through peaceful means. Moral integrity. King's unwavering commitment to morality or non-violence and justice demonstrate the importance of maintaining peace and morality and integrity. Morality, integrity in political activism. Number 3 is Dietrich Bonhoeffer. Dietrich Bonhoeffer lives in 1906 to 1945 and was a German Lutheran pastor and a theologian who actively opposed the Nazi regime. His involvement in the Confessing Christ and his participation in the resistance against Hitler were driven by his Christian conviction. Bonhoeffer's courage and moral integrity continue to inspire believers to stand against injustice and tyranny. Bonhoeffer's landscape was one of the extreme danger and moral complexity. Nazi regime oppressed policies and actions pose significant ethical dilemma. Despite the risks, Bonfa's faith compelled him to take stand against the tyranny. His success underscored the importance of moral courage and roles of faith in guiding ethical decision-making. Now, the lesson from here is the power of faith also. Bonfa's faith was foundational to his resistance against Nazi regime. His example showed that faith can provide the courage needed to stand up against injustice. Comment to justice. Bonfa's opposition to Nazi regime highlights the importance of advocating for justice even in the face of extreme danger. And then last one is moral integrity. Bonfa's unwavering commitment to his principle demonstrates the importance of maintaining moral integrity in the face of ethical dilemmas. Now, the next person I want us to look at is Nelson Mandela, who lives in 1918 to 2013. Was a South African anti-apartheid revolutionary and a political leader who served as Nigerian president of South Africa from 1994 to 1999. Although Mandela's faith was more complex and inclusive, his Christian upbringing and values influenced his commitment to justice and reconciliation and forgiveness. Mandela's leadership helped dismantle apartheid and love racial and harmony in South Africa. Mandela's landscape was characterized by systematic racial oppression and violent conflict. Despite spending 27 years in imprisonment, Mandela's commitment to reconciliation and forgiveness enabled him to lead South Africa through peaceful transition to democracy. His success illustrates the power of forgiveness and the importance of promoting reconciliation in a divided society. The lesson to learn from Mandela's story is that of faith also. Mandela's Christian upbringing and values influence his commitment to justice and reconciliation. His example shows that faith can inspire efforts for social change and healing. Commitment to justice. Mandela's dedication to dismantling apartheid and promoting racial harmony highlights the importance of advocating for justice and equality. The importance of reconciliation. Mandela emphasized the reconciliation and forgiveness demonstrate the power of this principle in promoting and social cohesion and healing. Conclusion. The historical success of Christian politicians like William Wilberforce, Martin Luther King Jr., Dietrich Bonhoeffer, and Nelson Mandela provide valuable insight and lessons for believers today. Their examples demonstrate the power of faith, importance of commitment to justice, the necessity of maintaining moral integrity, and values of promoting reconciliation. By learning learning from their experience, believers can navigate the political landscape with integrity and make a positive impact on society. With God's guidance and support, Christian politicians can continue to uphold their faith and values while contributing to the betterment of the world.